Today I'm sharing a collage art trick that only needs a few acrylic paints and a couple of tools to make absolutely stunning painted papers and gorgeous acrylic skins for collage. How to make and use acrylic skins is a skill that I think every mixed media artist should know to help expand their creativity. And that's what we're going to do right now. I'm Jackie Bernardi and welcome to my studio. For this video, I had planned on simply painting papers to add to the collage stash for the sketchbook art series I've been working on for the last month. As I was painting away, I realized that this was the perfect opportunity to share my acrylic skin making technique that I usually use when painting papers, or really any time I use some type of palette in my work. But first, let's paint some papers. I'm just starting with some gloss medium, and in it I've put a little bit of quinacridone nickel azo gold. That's what you see in the top corner, that's golden colored. And then the pink is made of the primary magenta with some zinc white and again, some gloss medium. And I just want a feeling of color just skipping right over the paper. That's why I am using the gloss medium to help dilute the pigment a little bit and make it more airy, I guess. And what I've just done now is I've laid down a bunch of the colors that I'm going to use today, and I'm just using this giant sheet as my palette. I like working this way. It frees me up. When I use a very small palette, I feel myself keeping my movements quite tight. And so this, I don't know, it's just a psychological thing, I guess. It makes me feel looser with the whole process. And this is the little skinny brayer that I love so much. And these papers that I'm making, they are going to go into the stash of papers that I'm going to use for the collage on the giant oyster that I'm going to be working on this winter. Technically, these are going to be used in the sketchbook for the art sketchbook series I've been working on for a while. And I've been having some visions actually about this oyster. And the more that I develop papers for it, the brighter and more exciting some of the colors are getting. And I'm beginning to think that I'm going to use a really exciting color palette for the oyster itself. We'll see. But as I create these papers, and here I'm just using a large palette knife, and that's regular old copy paper that I am putting the paint down on. And I'm just skip troweling it all over, leaving it loose and free, but these colors are really quite bright, and it'll be interesting to see if I actually have the courage to use them in the sketchbook and then further on from that in the giant piece I'm going to work on over the winter. It'll be interesting. But these are just fun. I like having a mix of gel printed papers like I did in last week's video, and I will link to that in the description. I like having gel printed papers that I use for collage, but I also really like to have hand painted papers. And truthfully, hand painting papers is what got me excited about art again after taking a 10-year break from it. So it's very important to me in my process, and it's very rare that you'll see me do a collage without having some hand-painted elements included in it. So this here is golden colors, golden artist colors fluid acrylic in teal, and this has become a true favorite color of mine. It always gives lift and pizzazz, and I just really like it. If you're enjoying this video and you want to learn more about painting papers, acrylic skins, mixed media collage, and so on, I encourage you to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you can be notified whenever a new video comes out. I'm going to try to zoom in here so you can see what this very, very translucent, transparent actually, pink is doing to this piece. See if I can zoom in here. Yeah, look at that. It just kind of melts the colors together in a way. So instead of just using your pigmented paint straight out of the tube or straight out of the jar, sometimes mix it with a medium so you can experience that really translucent and transparent veiling effect that happens when you use those paints over other items that you've painted. Really encourage you to do that. This piece here, starting off heavy with the quinacridone nickel azo gold, but also I had mixed in some Van Dyke brown. There's a couple colors up top that you can't see right now, just the position of the camera. But I have Payne's gray up there, I have Van Dyke brown up there, I have the zinc white up there. I also have the pink mixture that I told you about before, the zinc and the primary magenta, which you just saw me mix up again, this time without any fluid medium. So it's just the pigmented paints. No medium was used to make that pink. And that was because I wanted a more opaque pink on this particular piece of paper. And so as I skip trowel it around, I'm loving how all these colors are coming up with one another. And the Van Dyke brown mixed with the quinacridone nickel azo gold is creating a really nice contrast against that pink. It's getting exciting. Now I'm tapping in a little bit of the nickel azo gold into the pink to make it more of a salmony color, give a little more depth to that pink than just the brightness. And I like what happened there. I'm loving this piece of paper, my gosh. So much intensity and depth on a piece of copy paper. Isn't that nuts? I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do now, I think this is the perfect time to go into making acrylic skins. And so we're going to just use some materials here. I have a bunch of different mediums that I'm going to use, but really just so I can show you how skins work based on whatever medium you're using, what they look like, what their translucency is, and so on. The paper here that I'm using is freezer paper. This white roll is just like a thin freezer paper, but it's poly-coated on one side. This darker one, the craft color paper, also is poly-coated, but the craft one, the brown paper, is very, very heavy duty paper, and it will hold up to a ton of weight from products and medium. So you're going to see me use both types of paper, but in very different ways. All right. So first we're going to go ahead. This is Golden's Heavy Gloss Gel. And I am just going to take a scoop out with my palette knife and put it on the shiny side of this freezer paper. This is very, very important. When we're doing this work, we are always doing it on the shiny side of the paper, the poly-coated side of the paper. So I just took some of that heavy medium and put some quinacridone nickel azo gold, and I'm just blending the pigment into the medium and then just troweling it out a little bit. Now, I'm going to also put down some of that pink color that I made before. So the primary magenta mixed with zinc white. And instead of putting it in with a gloss gel medium right now, I'm putting it in with this heavy medium. So you'll see I'm going to blend it right on the page, a drop of the primary magenta and a drop or two of the zinc white. And I'm going to mix it directly onto the freezer paper and then move it around and blend it in a little bit into the orange up top or the nickel azo gold up top. And the reason why I'm doing this, I'm going to do this with each medium, this exact thing with each medium with just these two colors, so that we can compare apples to apples, what different mediums do in creating acrylic skins that can be used in your collage work. All right. So that was the long view of how I'm doing this. I'm going to do the exact same thing with all the other mediums that we're going to be using today. So again, this was the heavy gloss gel medium from Golden. This here that I'm using is actually a matte gel, and it's from Liquitex. I have two matte gels that I'm going to use so you can compare those side by side. But again, I have the pink that I made. I mixed right in with the matte gel and the Nickel Azo Gold, and I'm going to set those off to dry. This one I did a few minutes ago. This is the other matte gel. This is the Golden Soft Matte Gel. So at the end, we're going to compare both matte gels together to see if there's any difference. Maybe save you some money along the way. Okay. And then this is, I love this product. This is Golden Self-Leveling Gel. And this is what I have used almost exclusively in my acrylic skin making. I love this product. Not only is it thick, it's still fluid, but it's thick. It's very, very viscous. And as it dries, it does exactly what it's supposed to do. It levels out and makes a perfectly even plane over your paint. We'll get to that in a second. This here is one of my favorite tools in the studio, and it's an electric paint mixer, and it literally does what it says it's going to do. You just put a couple drops of your pigmented paint into some fluid medium, in this case the self-leveling gel, and you use the electric mixer to mix it. Now this is a vibrating mixer, it's not a whisking mixer, so it's not going to incorporate a lot of air bubbles into the medium, which would happen if I were beating it with like a popsicle stick and trying to mix it that way. It would incorporate too much air. And because this particular medium is so viscous, it will retain those air bubbles for a long time and maybe never get rid of them. So you really want them to be smoothed out, and that's why I use the electric mixer. But also it's terrific because I can take one of these plastic cups, fill it with the medium, put a few drops in, mix it, and then pour it into one of these plastic containers, and then I have a lot of that color that I can use. That green gold that I just showed you, I've had that container of green gold for about 2.5 years, and I'm still using it. So once you mix this, this can last a very, very long time. And I would encourage you to have a library of pre-mixed self-leveling gel colors for just those moments when you need them. But here, instead of mixing on the freezer paper itself, I mixed inside these two little plastic cups. Now, ordinarily, I am not all about the plastic cups. However, what's great about these is they're clear so you can, one, see the colors that you're mixing, but two, when the paint actually dries in there, you can just peel it right out and you have another skin. So I really like it. There's no need to throw these cups away. You'll be able to get all the paint off of them. And I will link to them in the description as well as everything else that I'm using. But here you can see how thick this paint is. It's liquid, but very thick and very heavy. And I'm just going to take the trowel and spread it out. I love how these colors blend. I'm tapping on it to create a little bit of texture so that you can see it's going to level itself out anyway. As much texture as I put in here, it's going to level itself out. This is magic. As far as I'm concerned, this is magic. Not only are acrylic skins magic, but this particular product is magic. And I use it a lot. Okay. So I'm going to leave some squiggles without any medium on them for right now. I have an idea that I want to try later, but for now I need that to dry and set up a little bit before I do anything else. This here is pouring medium, and I've actually never used this to create acrylic skins, so this is much as of an experiment for me as it is for you, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that this goes well. I like the way that it moves. It's very thin, and especially using it right after the self-leveling gel, it's it, it's seriously like the consistency of milk. So very, very different than the self-leveling gel. And it's also, the way I'm applying it, it's applying differently. Not in an objectionable way. I'm really liking it. It's just very different. So while those are drying, we're going to go back to painting papers. And instead of painting onto paper like I did at the first part of this video, what I'm doing now is actually painting on the freezer paper that I was using as a palette. Now, there's a couple reasons why I'm doing this. The primary reason is this is spectacular, and this is a very large area that I'm working on. I would say this is probably 3 foot by 2.5 foot that you can see in the frame of the camera here. And I'm just using all the colors that I had put out for this palette, and now I'm just creating a painting with it right on the freezer paper. Here's why this is important. Each time that you paint something, if you use palette paper, especially palette paper that has the really shiny side, when you're done, a lot of us just throw that away. And I think that is such a missed opportunity. And what I'm showing you here is a way to take that palette while you still have paint that's on there that's wet, and you can actually use it to create a skin so that you don't have wasted acrylic paint. Now, this only works with acrylic paints. Actually, I don't know if that's true. I haven't tried it out with watercolors. It could work with watercolors. But when you have leftover paints, creating skins out of them is a great way to create quote unquote papers for use later on. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute. But for right now, all I'm doing is just spreading out the paint that was left. This obviously is sped up because it took, more than a couple of seconds to do this. But look at the color. Just plainly look at the colors here, right? And maybe you can already see possibilities. Now, I let this dry overnight, and about 2 hours after I made that, I poured on, for every single test skin that we did, including this big colorful one, I poured on another layer of whatever medium I used before. So for this giant one, I hadn't used a medium. I just painted directly onto the glossy side of the paper. So what I did was I put a layer of the self-leveling gel on it and let it dry overnight. Now it's completely dry, and I am starting to work the paint off the shiny side of the paper. This is the beautiful thing about using the polycoated paper for this application. The acrylic paint will not stick to it permanently. All right, so I got it started. This here is just a tube. It actually came from a roll of wrapping paper, and I saved it. And I always save tubes like this because they're invaluable in the studio. But what I did was I took a piece of the polycoated paper that had never been painted on, just a fresh, brand new piece, and I turned it upside down, gloss side down on top of the acrylic skin. All right, so that shiny on shiny. Does that make sense? All right, and then I started to wrap it around the inner tube so that it's protecting itself. This is the way to protect an acrylic skin, okay? You put it shiny side to shiny side, paper to the acrylic paint, and then you roll it up and you put it away until you want to use it, right? If you try hanging an acrylic skin, inevitably it will touch another piece of acrylic something. And when acrylic touches another piece of acrylic, it is bonded like super glue. So it's really, really important that when you're storing acrylic skins that you store them in a way, you don't have to roll them up. You could keep them flat, but just know you're always going to need shiny side touching the acrylic paint and then shiny side of paper touching the paint. So I showed you how to roll it up and protect it. What we're going to do now is we're going to go through, these were the other skins that we created, the test skins, and I wanted to show you the difference in all of them. This one here is the pouring medium skin, and actually I forgot to do another layer of pouring medium over it last night, and it is really thin. As I'm pulling it off here, you can see I'm kind of struggling. It's really stretching and it's getting very literally bent out of shape, which is not what I want. There could be a use for a really thin skin like that, for sure, but it's too fragile for me, actually. So I just cut some off so you could see it here. I think if it had one more coat of the pouring medium over it, it would probably be perfect, but this just feels too thin. And this here was the first one that we did. This is the heavy gloss gel. And what I love about the heavy gloss gel is, one, it's gel medium and it's gloss. So when it dries crystal clear. And even with the fluid acrylic mixed in with it, it still dries completely clear. So as I pull this back, you're going to see the intensity of the color is remarkable. And when I lay it over this text here, so when I lay it over anything, you can completely see what's underneath. It's just colored by the pigment and it's lovely. The other reason why I love the heavy gloss gel is because you can apply it in a way, see, look at that. Like it's crystal clear, it's gorgeous. But you can apply the heavy medium in a way where you can actually create actual textured skins, which is a really lovely effect on certain projects. So I know I'm going over an awful lot here. I want you to experiment with things. I want you to try things. And this is one of the things that I really do want you to try. Just with whatever mediums you already have. You do not need to go out and buy new stuff. You could just do this with the paints that you have. You just might have to build up a whole lot of layers first. So now this is the first matte medium, and I can't see here if that's the Liquitex or if that's the soft gel medium, but I'm going to tell you something right now. It doesn't matter which one it is, because the Liquitex matte gel and the golden soft matte gel, the appearance is exactly 100% the same. If you put them down without any label on them, I would defy anyone to tell me which one was which. They are identical twins of each other. They have the same degree of matte. They have the same degree of shine for the side that was on the shiny part of the freezer paper, which of course, if you wanted to use that side and you wanted it to be matte, you could certainly go over all of this once you've collaged it with matte medium, and that would take the shine right off. But they came out great, and so if you want to save money, if one of these products is less than the other, then just know you're going to get the exact same result for this application. And then this here is my beloved self-leveling gel, and I think you can see why. When I poured more self-leveling gel over it last night, I also used some of that green gold that was in that bottle, And I filled in some of those loops just to see what it would look like. And I love it. It looks very, very yellow here, but that's actually the green gold. I love that. And so again, it's crystal clear all the way through. It blends, so the side of the skin that's all blended is gorgeous, but then the side that has all the loop-de-loos looks so cool also. So I want to show you, excuse me, in practical application. If I were to add this to a collage, I want you to see what this does to it and why I am so incredibly excited about sharing with you how to create acrylic skins, because it makes magic. And here, this is it. Look at this. Actually, I'm going to zoom in. We've not lost anything from below. We haven't even lost text from below. But look at that vibrancy. I mean, that's just a, abstracted collage. But imagine if you were going to create a collage that things that you can recognize, like flowers or whatever. This is a beautiful way to add to your painting, where you can kind of try it out before you're married to it, right? If you're just going to go in and paint flowers, you've got what you've got, unless you paint over it. With this, you have what you have, and then you can take a skin and lay it on top and see how that changes and what that brings out and how it impacts. That's the magic. Okay, so I'm just going to roll all of these up again, shiny side to shiny side. And then these are the painted papers. This is what we did today. I'm going to share these all. Love this one. Oh, I love this so much. It actually looks like a big old coffee stain right in the middle there. Love it, love it, love it. These are happy papers. They will make very exciting oyster if that goes on the oyster. I'll tell you that right now. And now I want to show you the skin, the giant skin in its entirety. And I will tell you, this is a giant skin. I wouldn't really recommend that you make skins this large unless you really practice and work hard to get there. Look at that. That's so thin and so colorful and so gorgeous and sturdy and fun. So what I was saying is I would start small, start practicing small, find plastic surfaces like the freezer paper, or gosh, you could probably even use a baggie, although I haven't tried using a baggie. But experiment, play, and see if acrylic skins are something that you would want to use in your practice. I'll be doing more videos on acrylic skins later. I'm so happy you've been here with me. I hope you learned something new and exciting today. And if you've enjoyed this, I would love it if you would subscribe to this channel and to my mailing list. You can find the link in the description below. Thank you so much for being here.